Allow me to have a little bit of a word about the European Forum. We are a cooperation between political foundations in Europe, center-left political foundation, and we try to bring information on the work and developments in a variety of European countries. And of course, the Albanian elections on May 11, the parliamentary elections, are a very important moment for us. So this is also something we definitely don't want to pass. So I'm really happy to be here with my two speakers. I'm Emiel Bongaerts from the Foundation Max van der Stoel and the European Forum for Democracy and Solidarity, and welcome at this webinar. This webinar will be live streamed on YouTube, and you can ask all questions you would like to in the Q&A, and then I will relay them to our both speakers. So without further ado, I'm super happy to be joined here by Romina Kuko. Romina, welcome. You're the Deputy Minister in Albania. And you're joining us from the car because you're currently driving around and campaigning towards the Sunday vote. So thank you so much. So sometimes your connection will be a little bit here and there, but we'll manage. And that's also great to see that you're here during the elections and so much involved. And Ilir, also welcome. You're involved in Center for Labor Rights in Albania and also for SCOT, which is a labor union, also focusing labor union on telephone workers, right? If I'm correct?
Yes, call center workers.
Yeah, call center workers. Yeah, that's amazing. So thanks a lot. I see Romina is now her connection a little bit gone, but we'll just start with you, Ilir. So to start on the elections, which will come up on Sunday, the campaign is in its full modus, I would presume. How is the atmosphere in Albania? Is it like talk of the town, the vote coming up?
Look, till now we have had a normal campaign, let's say, but in the last days we see some tensions, and from both sides, because the poll is on Sunday. So I think it's normal for our country, for a Balkan country, to have this kind of tensions on the last days, let's say.
And what kind of tensions you see now, Ilir? Like, do you have some examples of that, of what's happening at the moment? What's currently in the news?
Yes, there are some, let's say, how can I call, the political tones are more high now, because as I say, on Sunday there are the polls. We have had some problems in north part of Albania. Both parts are crashing. So these are the problem, not very big problems, but some kind of tension is on the ground now. Yes.
Exactly. Okay. Thanks for sharing. And we'll come up to it a little bit later as well. In the meantime, see Romina, you joined us again. Thanks a lot. Deputy Minister of Interior for Albania. Thanks so much for joining on the road in the mountains of southeast Albania. So thanks so much. And if you see it's a little bit disconnecting, also feel free to turn off the camera. Maybe that will help. Ilir just mentioned already a little bit that we are in the tense final moments of the campaign towards the Sunday vote. How is it for you? Like, is it talk of the town? Do you feel it's a real big topic now in Albania that the parliamentary elections will come up this Sunday?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. We're in the last 2 days of finishing the campaign, so we are obliged everywhere now in the last, let's say, miles of this campaign. Of course, that we are people, and in the Balkans, politics is the favorite sport. So, of course, the elections are the talk of the town, and it is interested on how these elections will go. I would say that this campaign was one of the quietest campaigns that we have seen ever in Albania. Maybe this is due to the
Sorry, your connection, Romina, is worsening a little bit. So maybe it's good to turn off the camera, and that might help. And I will continue with you, Ilir, just to continue our webinar. And then if Romina returns, I will let her finish the point, because I also wanted to continue to the main political parties and political figures in these elections. Before returning to the point for Romina, why the election campaign has been quite silent, but maybe also for our audience, it's interesting to know who the main political figures and parties are who are on the ballot
Yes.
these elections. So can you give some information on that?
Yes, we have the Socialistic Party, which one is the main actor now. This party is in power now, and from the other side we have big coalitions of right wings, which Democratic Party is one of the main actors in these big coalitions, and we have something new this year that are new parties. They are coming out, and which one want to take member to the parliament. I think that this year we should have in parliament new parties, new members from these parties, because as exit poll says, these kind of parties would have let's say, like 10 members in parliament. This is something new in Albania. From 19 till now, we have had no new kind of party. Always we have from the two main parties, Socialistic one and Democratic one, so left and right wing, and we have this kind of new parties that are center right or center left, or we have also an extreme left party coming out, let's say Marxist one or communist coming out now in these elections. This is a new thing for us, for Albania, let's say.
So very, very interesting. And I see Romina returned with a better connection. So before continuing on your point, Romina, you were talking about that the campaign is quite silent now, comparing to other years. So I would like to give you the word to finish what you wanted to say there.
Is less inflammatory, more with the program and the substance, because now, of course, we see that people have been very much, they have a higher awareness why politics isn't politics, but it's the politics of the self-interest of people, of groups of interest, and of families. So we see that more and more. We have more discussion about taxes, we have more discussion about education, health issues, something that, of course, were always present in political campaigns, but we had more militantism in the past. So,
all right, thanks a lot. And I would recommend Romina maybe to turn off the camera. I think it would work a little bit better because your connection is still going away here and there a little bit. So, and Ilir, to continue with you, do you agree here, before continuing on the main parties, would you agree like the debate in Albania has broadened up a little bit in this campaign towards more economic issues, socio-economic issues on the welfare state, on healthcare issues, on, for example, education? Is that something you also see happening?
Let's say yes. We have seen something new in this kind of electoral campaign, because the parties are more focused on the programs and talking about work, economy, health, about immigrations. But I think that this maybe is just for electoral time, okay? Because I don't see from both parts that they have been working during these years for these things, for the health of the people, for the work, for the taxes, for the immigration. We have maybe also the people who are looking us from YouTube want to see maybe a general picture of Albania now, that in Albania all the young people are immigrating, are going out in Europe. Our population is going older, and our health system, it's not, we have some good implementation in health system, but it's not till a European one, let's say, no? And we have problem with the workers here, also in Albania. We see that people who has no power to buy things, so they maybe need to work to make two work, okay, to come at the end of the month. Yeah. And the government is not helping in this way, because they are taxing the second work. So if I have no money, I have to work to make a second one, and the government is saying, no, you are making a second one, a second work, you have more money, you have to pay more. and this is not fair for us. I see as a part of union this party, but yes, if we see the electoral campaign, it's more focused on program this year. Yes.
Yeah, so that's a major difference to other years. And you just Ilir, you shared something about the main parties in this election. So on the one hand, we have the big blocks of Socialist Party and the Democratic Party with well-known names of for the Democratic Party, we have of course Mr. Berisha, who's in the Albanian politics for a long time. And in Albania, the current Prime Minister Edi Rama for the Socialist Party. So those two blocks I want to come back to a little bit later, but maybe you also shared something about new parties coming up. And you said they have like maybe 10 seats in the exit poll, and the Parliament of Albania has 140 seats. What kind of role do you think they can play? And are they playing already a role like in this campaign?
We have two big factors here. The one is the new parties, and the second factor is that now in Albania are voting also the diaspora, let's say, the people who have emigrated. They have never voted in Albanian electoral system. This year is possible also for them to vote, and they are 245,000 people registered for vote in Albania. Until now, they have voted like 17% now that we are talking. What means that 245,000 people voting, there are a lot of, there are like 20, they can elect it like 20 members in parliament, and we don't know how they would vote. And this is the second big factor. Now the new parties, they cannot do so much, let's say, but if the Socialistic Party do not take the majority of the numbers, 71 seats on the parliament, there should be, because the new parties have said that they will not join the forces with any one of the big ones, and they will go in new elections.
Okay, so if they won't take the 71, of course, you don't have the simple majority in parliament, and there are
Yes.
no parties currently that want to go into a coalition.
Yes.
That's your take, Ilir. So, Romina, how is that for you? How do you see the current political players in the field? Of course, you are campaigning for the Socialist Party for a seat in your municipality. How do you see these new parties coming up? Do you see in the campaign also that they play a role also across Albania?
Of course. First of all, I want to give just another point of view regarding migration. I think that migration is a phenomenon plaguing all the world, even Europe and, of course, the Balkans. So it's not an Albanian phenomenon. The globalization of the working environment has created these conditions that everybody goes and works wherever they feel fit. On the other hand, of course, that we are creating all the conditions now for people who have migrated to return back to the country with incentives that they can have in the country, minimization of taxes, zero taxes, or anything else. So we're trying to incentivize that. But when it comes to the players on the ground, of course, that the strongholds of politics in Albania remain big parties, albeit the Democratic Party from the opposition side and the Socialist Party on the, let's say, the party in power. From all the polls, we see that the Socialist Party will not only gain a majority, but it will be a robust majority. Our take is that we're going to have something on a margin of, if you know, the threshold is 71 seats, we see that we probably are going to get around 76 to 78 seats in these elections. When it comes to the new parties, of course, it's good to have new players on the ground. And the majority of them come from the dissolution of the Democratic Party, meaning that the party was split into three fractions after the internal crisis that existed in the Democratic Party. So nothing new under the sun. Practically, you have the most notorious figures of that party now creating their own initiatives. We have some hybrid, as Ilir said, very leftist party in the field, we see that they're having some results in the polls, but results regarding how much they are known in the people. But when people are asked whether who should run the country, then they reply that. So, there is discrepancy in the polls regarding considering one party and then trusting who is going to run the country. So it's we see it as a consistent data being given to all the polls.
Yeah, and regarding the majorities, I also saw a report that Socialist Party hopes to maybe gain a majority of a constitutional majority, which is I think 84 from the top of my head, but please correct me if I'm
Yes,
wrong.
it's
In the
84.
parliament,
It's 84.
84. So what would that mean, Romina, the constitutional majority? Would that mean, for example, it becomes more easier to get to the goal of EU integration in 2027, which is also said by current Prime Minister Edi that that's one of the big goals of a new constituency. What is the what could really be a game changer if you gain this majority instead of a simple one?
Well, of course, we should be very realistic in terms of results, and but of course, we would need to have a consensus on the constitutional majority, even with other forces, because the EU integration requires reforms, which require amendments that need 84 votes at least. Changes of codes, of constitution if it's needed, and so forth. I myself dealt a lot with the chapter 24, which is one of the main chapters of the acquis communautaire, which has to deal with justice, freedom, and security. And a lot of legal amendments and the alignment that we should do with the European acquis communautaire need a qualified majority, as we say in the legal language. So, of course, that this pertains to the European path of Albania. The program of the Socialist Party has to do only with integration of the country in the EU. So practically, our program has to do with a program of all the reforms that we should do, standardizing the country and becoming, let's say, a member when the new membership wave opens, hopefully, of course. Our goal is to end the negotiations by 2027, which is a very ambitious goal. But of course, that now we're working a lot with a team of 1,000 people who are negotiating with Brussels, and we hope that we are going to get there very soon.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, you're now on the road, Romina, in many different counties, municipalities, villages, driving around to knock doors and do the canvassing and be there. What do you see people replying to you if you go from door to door? What kind of topics are coming up? Because of course, for the Socialist Party, you've been in power for more than a decade. So also being responsible for many of the policies. What's currently what people reply and what they want to see from a next government in Albania?
Well, you know that it's always the economy. Huh? I mean, we shouldn't fool ourselves and say that people think for something beyond their welfare in the first place, their economy, and then about the rest of the world. So now the citizens of Albania, either be in urban areas or rural areas, of course, need more opportunities for their economy to flourish, for more opportunities for their businesses to flourish. You know that we are becoming quite very attractive in tourism area, and this area I'm running for MP is very notorious for mountainous tourism in Albania, in Korça. So now they require opportunities on how to make this offer more attractive. How to attract more tourists, how to have incentives that do not penalize the businesses, how to make people return from the diaspora, return to the country. And of course, then second come the services, meaning a better hospital, better schools, better infrastructure on the roads. So, and the third, of course, has to do with agriculture. This area has a lot of opportunities for bioproducts, which needs to be certified and then exported to the EU. So they deeply understand how important the EU integration is, because it's always about the economy and it's about a standard of living that everybody needs to have.
Yeah, that's indeed something, Ilir, you also already alluded to in your words, like that the economy is an important part of the election campaign now. Is like, do you agree here? Do you also see these topics and also tourism, the economy, this and the EU integration tied to that as the main things that are currently people thinking of when voting?
Yes, this
Sure,
is
of course. Sorry. Please, Ilir.
okay. I agree with what Romina says. These are the main topics on the ground. The EU integration is one of the strongest part that the Socialistic Party is making campaign now, and for us it's okay because every Albanian wants to be part of Europe, and economy is another one. I don't see like this rose as Romina says, because I see on the other part, on the part of the workers, and tourism is Albania is having big steps of tourism now, but the problem is that this kind of tourism is very difficult for us workers, because now for our economy is like impossible to go 2 weeks at the sea with the children, because the prices are very high in most part of Albania. And yes, these are the main topic. I should say something also that we see in the parties that in the campaign that the Socialist Party has one problem that the other are coming out, that is the corruption, because Socialist Party is facing a lot of problems with the corruption. We have the mayor of the city, one of the biggest exponent of Socialist Party, has been arrested for corruption. Also, on the other part, we have the ex-premier Sali Berisha, who is under sanctions from US and from UK. So people see also these kind of things. And this is, let's say, the main problem or the main topics on this electoral campaign.
Yeah, and how does because there's an anti-corruption body also being established under the last government, also through, I think, a joint international effort also, it's called SPAC.
Yes.
What do they play any role towards these elections?
Yes, look, we have to say something that this kind of new structure of SPAC, let's say something like FBI in United States, to be more friendly with our viewers. And yes, it has been a big effort from Socialistic Party to make this kind of reform in justice system. And we know, everyone in Albania know these things, that is the Socialistic Party who make it possible. But on the other hand, we have a lot of deputies, ministers, and the mayor now, who have been arrested for the corruption. And this is a good note for the campaign. On the other side, as I say, we have the ex-prime minister still here, still making campaign. He is under sanctions from USA and from UK, and he is making campaign now with part of Trump administration, who are here in Albania, are running the electoral campaign for Mr. Sali Berisha.
Yeah, so thanks for bringing this up, because you took the words from what I wanted to also ask you about the campaigns of the different parties before moving on to you, Romina, because you also had a point to add on to. Because just to continue on what you said, Ilir, indeed, there is someone from the Trump administration. I think his name is Chris Lacivita, if I'm correct.
Yes.
And he is a former campaign manager, and he is working for the Berisha campaign, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Romina,
if
please
I
come
may,
in. Yeah, of
if
course.
I may, no, it's the person. It's not part of Trump's administration. We should make it very clear.
Okay.
It's just a consultant, a private consultant with private contracts to support the campaign of Berisha. But in any moment, he is not linked to the Trump administration, or he is an envoy from the Trump administration. We should do that very clear. He said that himself, but this is the official position. So
That's a very,
which
very
is very,
important addition, also towards the position of certain countries and administrations, also towards sanctions regime. So thanks for adding, Romina. And you also maybe had another point you just wanted to come into, or was this
yeah,
the
I
one?
was wanting to add to fill in a little bit about SPAC and about the justice reform. This was one of the toughest reforms that Albania made in 2016, in which we decided to make the justice system independent, like it is in every European and democratic country in the world. It was a very tough decision. It required the whole, the whole majority of the parliament. It got voted with 160 votes, and we went through the system of the biggest vetting system of prosecutors and judges in Albania. And then after this vetting happened, only 35% of prosecutors and judges remained in the system, because the other 65% were cut by the vetting. On the other hand, we created a special prosecution, which is SPAC, and also a special court against corruption. This because the corruption in our countries, especially in the Balkans, was always endemic, and we know that. And it was very difficult. The corruption started from the judges, spread throughout all the society. And when you have the system itself corrupted, it can never be fought. So, of course, that the new justice caught in the web also people coming from left and right, people who were never thought to be touched politically or from the justice in the past. You know that there is this mentality in our countries that high-ranking politicians should never be subject of justice, because the binom of justice and politics were always together. But now those are independent bodies. We have ensured that there is an international monitoring organization and system in our constitution. So we practically gave a little bit of sovereignty by putting an international body in our constitution to monitor the justice system. And why did we do that? We did that because justice was one of the conditions of the European Union integration and opening of negotiations. So this is the idea. If there are people from our party or from all the other parties who are, let's say, touched by the new justice, this is not our problem. Socialist Party is big, and whoever should make their own calculations with the justice if they breach it. So this is how the system works.
Thanks for sharing. And this all happened in what time span, Romina? Like in the last legislative period of like 4 years?
So this was voted in 2016.
Okay.
The justice, the vetting system lasted until 2019. We also had this fun fact. We had 8 out of 9 constitutional court members were removed by the vetting. So for a long time, maybe our Dutch friends know because they were following very closely, we were without a constitutional court because the majority of the members were removed by the vetting. And then the special prosecutor started to work. It was voted with a very big pain and push by the Socialist Party in 2021. And then it started to function officially, in the last 3 or 4 years. And they had fantastic results when it comes to fighting corruption and in, the high-ranking corruption.
Exactly, yeah, and it's also quite staggering figure that only 35% of people in the judiciary could remain. So that's, the impact is of course huge. Another fun fact about the Netherlands actually is that we don't even have a constitutional court. So in that sense, we are in the EU integration sometimes pushing these kinds of things, but in our own countries, this is also a big discussion. Before moving on to some of the questions in the Q&A, I still wanted to move towards the campaigns of especially both of the big parties, Socialist Party and the Democratic Party. Maybe to start with you, Ilir, because you alluded already a little bit to the Democratic Party's campaign. What does that look like, especially with this private consultant from America being hired? In what way do you see a shift of this party, and how do they, like, what kind of narratives do they use?
Look, we have to see that for democratic parties, I think these elections are very important. There is a lot of time, like 12 years, that they are not in power. They are trying to do something to take power. If you see the name of the campaign, make Albania great again or grandiose again, we see like it's a mirror of the American campaign with Trump, and but we see the leaders; they are old people, and
Yeah.
I think that people would or should vote for socialistic party, because all the people here in Albania wants to be part of EU integration, and this is one of the main topics of the socialistic party. And if the premier Edi Rama should maintain the power, we will see that the road for EU integration will be very short. On the other part, if we see that the democratic party should become in power, that we have something that we don't know how they will shift things, or how will they proceed further. And it's like an enigma, because we cannot, in this campaign, we cannot see the realistic intention of the ex-premier Salih Berisha, let's say.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And using narratives that worked in other places in the world, also try to implement those in Albania with the make great again ideas. And also you see geopolitics kind of play a part, because on the one hand, the Democratic Party, they're focusing kind of on the possibilities and with the Trump administration. On the other hand, you have the Socialist Party saying, which I saw from a couple of articles, that they see it as a big opportunity that the European Union has to speed up integration because of
Yes.
the sovereignty of the European Union being much more important with the current American
I
course.
think this is a unique opportunity because of the world circumstance, because we have the war in Ukraine. If that war was not now, we will not have this kind of preferential line to go to the Union European. There are a lot of changes in the world that push European Union to accept Albania in this union. And I think it's a unique chance, and we should take it. We have, like in 1996, we have the same opportunity, and we lose that train. We could not be permit to lose again this train.
Yeah, exactly, clear. And Romina, I hope you're still there to also share something about the Socialist Party campaign, because I saw that there is like a very specific, interesting campaign about where also 2030 as a time frame is being alluded to. Yeah, also with kind of like interesting narratives from Edi Rama itself. So I'm not sure if you're there, because
Yes,
I would.
I'm here.
Oh, great. I would love
I'm here.
to hear some more about it. Like, is there also in the campaign of Socialist Party some interesting changes, interesting narratives being used at the moment?
No, I actually wanted to, because it was very nice that Ilir mentioned it. One of the narratives that were missing the mark from Berisha has to do with the undoing of the justice system, because he was very mad at these SPAC and special prosecutors. One of the things that he claimed very loudly in the media was the undoing of SPAC. He said that SPAC is an obsolete weapon at the end of the Socialist Party. And, but it's a very hypocrite thing, because when they are interested, SPAC works. Anytime that they arrest, socialist exponents. But when they hit on the other side, then it's a weapon on the hands of Edi Rama. The funny thing is that SPAC is supported by around 80% of the Albanian population. And we know that the new justice was the very non-negotiable underlying condition of the EU, meaning that without the new justice, we wouldn't have a chance to open the negotiations. So Berisha and the party, by saying that, I think that they lost a lot of credibility when it comes to the sincerity of the European integration path. So even people who used to support his party practically are not very clear anymore, because they say, of course, I support this party, but I want my country to go to the European Union. So it's one of the narratives that have damaged, so to speak, the reputation when it comes to the path. On our side, the only narrative that we are sticking to is the European path of Albania. And not only on whether there will be an enlargement process in due time, but on building Albania and raising the standards of the country so that we are naturally going to be members of the EU and not, let's say, forced members of the Union in a foreseeable future.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So thanks a lot for sharing. And I have a lot more questions, but I do have to move on to the Q&A because otherwise our viewers will get mad at me. So the first one is actually a question which is also close to my heart because I'm a big cyclist enthusiast, and the Giro d'Italia is coming to Tirana.
Yes,
So definitely we'll watch on tomorrow. First
absolutely.
stage from Durrës to Tirana.
Yeah.
And one of our viewers asks, does the start of the Giro upcoming weekend play a role for the election day and campaign? Because it coincides, of course.
Yeah, sure. Be sure that I was part of both teams, both the election organization team and the Giro d'Italia from the police side. No, not at all. We have taken all the measures for the teams to the rides through the country. So we're very happy to host the teams and to have this fantastic opportunity. So no, we have taken all the measures for the Giro d'Italia preparations.
Yeah, and it will maybe even play a role in mobilization of voters for people coming out or maybe going to watch the cycling outside. But it's yeah, a great moment for Albania, of course, also to show the
Sure.
country.
No, the distances are really short, so even though people can go and vote and then can watch
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not a
That's
problem.
great. That's great. Second question I have in the chat is from Casey King is, are the asylum processing centers popular and in Albania, and does it influence the image of the EU in Albania itself? So alluding to, I think also especially the relationship with the Italian government and asylum processing centers. Is that something that's coming up in these elections? And yeah, how does it affect the whole narrative also of the European Union? Maybe to start with you, Ilir?
Look, in the beginning, I was an opponent of the asylum centers because I think that Albania has no sovereignty over these asylum centers. But this was a very clever movement of our Prime Minister with Giorgia Meloni. And we see now that all the countries in Europe are trying to do the same thing. We have seen some data from other organizations in Italy, and they have like 70% of cutting off of immigrations because the immigrants know that they are not going anymore to Italy, but in Albania, and so they don't take even the road to go there. And this is, I think, a good sign for Europe and also for Albania, because this kind of procedure, let's say, I think it was something that has moved the waters from the for the integration of Albania, because as we say, at the last, the European integration is a matter of to fulfill all the conditions, all the things, but at the end is like a political decision.
Okay.
I see this in this kind of view, let's say.
Yeah, exactly. So you would say it's in many senses, yeah, people are also see it as quite a positive step also in the EU integration process.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
They
Ilir?
are not negative. They are not negative at
Okay.
at the beginning. We have some kind of problems. We have some kind of opposition, let's say, to these centers. But now I think it's like a normal thing. We have not
Romina,
any.
you're still muted, Romina.
Sorry, if I may, yeah.
Of course.
In a nutshell, Albania has one of the legacies of Albania is the protection of the Jews in the Second World War. For those who don't know the story, we are the country that after the war we have had more Jews than in the beginning of the war. We have stories of families of any religion, you know, that we are a multi-religion country with a great tolerance, not tolerance, harmony practically, that protected them. So we have very much imbued in our DNA this welcoming and protection instinct. So when the Kosovo crisis happened, we hosted 600,000 Kosovars in overnight. We opened our houses to support them. And then fast forward in history, we hosted the Iranian opposition. They are still living in our country because we offered them protection. And when the Afghans were evacuated after the US was pulled away from Afghanistan, we received around 2,000 Afghans in the country, hosted them for a long time. Until then, they went to the US and to the other countries. So when it comes to humanitarian and hosting issues like the ones that I'm saying, we are always a country that welcomes and protects and supports. So we have no issues as a people when it comes to giving support to the others. And it's the same thing as Ilir says, we have no opposition when it comes to the centers, the processing centers, or receiving, you know, people who need treatment in our country. So this is my take on that.
And would you say it's a big topic in the current election campaign and there this
Not
week
at
or
all.
not? No,
Not
no,
at all.
no.
It's something that we have explained many, many times. Of course, this is a topic that is also praised by the European Commission as a model that could be applied. We know that some parties in Europe, sometimes, unfortunately, our sister parties have opposed that because of political reasons, but still, this is a topic that doesn't influence on the elections at all. It doesn't come up.
All right. Okay, and then we have a third question in the Q&A from Dana Rivers about how are challenges of online misinformation and campaign transparency being addressed? Maybe to continue with you, Romina, is this something that's big in the election campaign? On the one hand, disinformation, misinformation campaigns, we see it across Europe. We've seen it in Romania. There are also now instances where from the Polish presidential campaigns or messages coming out of big disinformation campaigns that are influencing the elections. Is this something that you also see in Albania? And on the other hand, also about election transparency, are there any concerns there?
Sure. Well, this is a topic, you know, we know that the hybrid, in brackets, war is something looming not only in the Balkans, but everywhere when it comes to elections. And of course, we see tentatives from different mushroom portals that come up overnight and spread propaganda and news, which are fake news and so forth. You know that Albania is one of the few countries that has banned TikTok, but for different reasons, because it had a huge negative impact on our youth, on their aggressivity, and on the way that youth was being, you know, fed on TikTok. On the other hand, we have had discussions with executives of the big platforms regarding disinformation and regarding misinformation campaigns. So we have taken all the measures to make counterfacts as soon as possible when it comes to something that really impacts the voters on a national security aspect. Because when we talk about disinformation and misinformation, it's not about the win of one political party. It's about the national security of the country. So I think that we are okay on this aspect. We have never had any major impact news so far. And I really hope that it's going to be the, let's say, the pattern even after the election is over.
Right, thanks for sharing, and maybe Ilir for you on this point.
I think that the parties have adopted a code of conduct for digital platforms. We don't see here in Albania. I think that the person who makes the question uh, would like to know if we have some Russian or I don't know Iranian or Chinese misinformations for the election, but we don't see this in the actual campaign.
Okay. And before continuing on the question, the question was kind of twofold, also on the election transparency. But before to continue there, the TikTok ban, it's something I wanted also to ask about. So I'm happy it came out of this question more or less. Is it being perceived as something controversial in Albanian society, or is there also international pressure coming out of it? Because it's quite a big deal to ban the whole social media platform for 1 year. Maybe Ilir should start with you. Is it something that's also being talked about?
I have two children, one 10 years and one 7 years, and they all day long stay on social media like TikTok or Facebook. And we cannot control this kind of platforms. And for the children is a very big uh, problem, I think, because we see on TikTok a lot of influencers that say everything and do everything. We have some uh, young people, teenagers, taking knives in school, or I don't know. We have a murder of a teenager here in Albania. It was a very touch thing. We organized a lot of protest for these things, and I am one of the people of the parents, let's say, who vote to close TikTok. I think that for our society is a big problem. As Prime Minister say, and as I have uh, listened, or as I have read on several platforms in Europe or in America or in Albania, the TikTok is not the same as in China used to be. If we see a page of TikTok in China, they learn to their children how to have a good life, how to work, so good things. Uh, on the other part, on our side, in Albania or in Europe, we see that on TikTok are a lot of influencers that learn to our children not to do the right things. So yes, I am one of the parents who votes to close TikTok, and I am very satisfied that this has been done.
Thanks for sharing. And it is yeah, but for me it's I would definitely agree. Also here in the Netherlands, it's also a big problem, especially among young people being doing big troubles with social media. And again, like what happened, the decision in Albania to ban it for 1 year could also be an example for other European countries that struggle with the same narrative. So it's also a very interesting one to follow, especially as many of the countries also struggle with moderating these big platforms. Of course, the Digital Services Act is being imposed by the European Commission, but sometimes it seems not enough. So it's an interesting one to keep following. Romina, do you have any additions on what Ilir had to share on this one, or not?
No, just a small remark. We did a very big questionnaire, face to face actually, with parents throughout the country regarding TikTok, and 100% of the parents were. I myself am a mother of a 16-year-old. You can imagine the impact. I've seen it firsthand. Ilir is the same. I mean, the aggressivity on the platform is unbelievable. So 100% of the Albanian parents were pro to ban TikTok. So this is more than enough for a government response to to the requests of the community.
Yeah, it's interesting. And maybe to continue with you, Romina, it's also the final question of this webinar, tying it to one of the questions from the chat about election transparency. Are there any considerations there? Is there, of course, there will be, as in every country, will be like observers coming into Albania probably, but are there also discussions around that? And I also would like to ask next to that about the diaspora vote, because I saw it's also much bigger than in other years. the diaspora vote probably. And how come? Because like, why is it the case that now the diaspora vote is bigger than in other years? So it's a twofold question again, but let's
Sure.
start with you,
I
Romina.
can answer very, very shortly. So when it comes to the election transparency, this time with the code that we have voted, everybody is obliged to have transparency from the funds of the campaign, from the funding to the reports to the Central Election Commission. We have in town the OSCE, ODIHR. I'm myself a former member of the OSCE. I know very well when things are really serious into monitoring the elections. We have the European Union, we have the Council of Europe present in the country. And of course, that when it comes to the election transparency, every candidate is obliged to declare expenses of the campaign. So it's a really tough call for those who want to do anything improper with the elections. I wouldn't encourage that. On the other hand, we have a task force from the SPAC, from a special prosecutor regarding the elections. They have distributed prosecutors in every region of the country now to monitor how elections are going, if there is any phenomenon of threatening, or anything else to influence the elections. So we have a new kid on the block when it comes to the layers of security of the elections. So I'm really hope that this will work, and we are going to have definitely democratic elections with no interferences. I'm a new age politician, and we are the ones that want European standards in the elections. Regarding diaspora, this is the first time diaspora votes by post. It was never possible before. They used to vote by coming physically to the country, but not from the place they were living. We had 250,000 registered and confirmed. 300,000 expressed their desire, but the confirmed ones were 250,000. Now we have 200,000 envelopes back to the country. They have voted via post. It's the first time that it happens. I think it's too late because that should happen before, but the opposition never accepted to have diaspora votes for the country. I don't know why. We are very keen to see how will it work for the country. You have to know that we have a very big diaspora in the country. We have around equal people who vote inside the country. They also vote outside the country.
Okay.
So maybe in the foreseeable future, we are going to see a kind of amendment for designated places rather than a free, like we have this time, a vote of the diaspora. But it's a very interesting exercise to see how will it work.
Yeah, exactly. So if I understand correctly, there's around 200,000 people that voted by post now, and are also
They have
voted by
they have
post.
returned the envelopes. They are in
Yeah.
the Central Election Commission. The envelopes
Exactly.
are back.
And it's a similar amount of people voting is expected to vote inside Albania, also 200,000.
No. In the totality, those who vote inside Albania are 1.4,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken, while the ones who vote outside of Albania are 1.6, and those who vote outside of Albania are around 1 point something. So it's basically the equal amount of people who can vote from diaspora.
Exactly. And then you have a part that also does by vote,
Yes.
by post, but it's a
Yes.
very considerable amount than extra people voting. So it can have an impact indeed on the elections. Ilir, do you think it can have some kind of impact on the elections, this diaspora vote? Will it, for example, be impacted towards a certain political direction?
I hope so. Maybe something, but it's the first time that they are voting like this. We have to see how the process is going. We see some troubles with the diaspora vote from Greece now. And yes, I think for me, we have to change the mood, how they vote or for what they vote, because I think that the diaspora in Greece should vote for a deputy from their diaspora, not to vote for deputies here in Albania, for members here in Albania. So the diaspora should have a number of seats in the parliament, and they should choose their elected. Okay, and we have to see the process how it will go. I am one of the person who will watch this vote on Diaspora, and it's let's say something new. I have something to say about the transparency. Nothing. The rules are okay, as Romina says. It's very okay, but we see that the big parties, we don't see how they finance their campaign. For example, we see that now Democratic Party pays $6 million for the La Civita, for the person who comes from the United States. They pay 6 million on contracts. We don't know how this money where this money come from. They say the foundation, but we don't know. We have nothing. I think that SPAC is not going on these things. I don't know why. Maybe SPAC is a little bit have some fear to make or to see how this money come for. This is a problem. I think that the big has always been this kind of problem that we have not transparency on the big parties. On the small one, normally because they're expensive, are very small, but on the big one, I think that these rules are not valuable.
Okay, yeah, and that's an important one for trust and legitimacy of people, of course, in the political process and in the parties. So that's an important one to look on as well. Romina, any additions from your side on that point? And otherwise, we'll start closing off the webinar.
No, I'm just in defense of SPAC. There are around 44 registered cases now for election issues. So I would be very patient and wait for the elections to be over, and then for sure we're going to have some very nice cases of people who are going to get punished for not respecting the rules. So I'm looking forward to that.
Right, we'll check it out, and yeah, that's also brings us to the end of our webinar. No more questions in the chat, and my questions are more or less also finished, but we're definitely also out of time, because we already took 1 hour to discuss so many topics on the Albanian elections. And yeah, time goes very quick when it's such an interesting political context. So thank you so much, Romina and Ilir, for bringing us some light and information in what's happening in Albania, what's happening towards the vote on Sunday. And it really has been a pleasure. So hopefully we can keep in touch in the upcoming time. Thank you.
Thank you, Emil.
So for this, with this webinar comes to a close, but of course the European Forum, we organize quite a lot of these webinars. So we also have webinars upcoming on the Romanian second round presidential elections, and also hopefully on the Polish presidential elections. So keep updated in our newsletter on our website for more on that. And you can also follow us with the newsletter, and you'll get a monthly update on everything that we organize, that we do. So I would definitely recommend doing that as well. Again, thanks so much, Romina and Ilir. We'll keep checking out, and we look forward to the Sunday vote, and also actually on the Giro d'Italia. So we'll be watching both of those. So Giro d'Italia this whole weekend and the Sunday vote, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you so much, and have a good day. Bye bye.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. All the best.